Okay, I think we can just proceed out. We will most likely not share to this record. But let's not just to waste our time. So let me share. So let me start by saying JavaScript is a um, I know it's a short form for JS. When you say JS, it's called JavaScript, and it's actually used mostly for web page interactions. I don't know if you're familiar with HTML. HTML just like the structure. If a typical web application where the structure is just like the HTML. Um, while CSS is like the styling that beautify the web page. Basically, all styles you see in web page are like done with CSS. While in terms of interactions with the button, for example, what happen when you click a button, those are those like are done with JavaScript basically. So when you click a button, a web form validations, those are some of the things that we are able to do with JavaScript. So just a quick question: do you know if JavaScript is a just a client based it's or server based or both? Who knows the answer? Sorry. With our interaction with JavaScript, is it client based or server based? It's both. Can you explain? I'm interested in that. React is still client. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's right. That's right. So basically, client based because you in terms of the web application interactions. Well, now before now, JavaScript was strictly client based, and over time it's now being used from the server side because of the we have Node server. So with the advent of Node.js, so with JavaScript, we are now able to develop backend application, server side application with JavaScript, um, basically. So let me share my screen. I think there's a. Am I able to share? Maybe yeah, I'm able to share. Share. Oh. It's question to bypass security. Can you see my screen? Oh, okay. So what can you see? Can you see the screen? The document. Okay. I think I shared the wrong screen. Yeah. 1 second. Yeah. I'm gonna just share the wrong screen. I'm just trying to share this one. How about now? Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Thank you. So basically, JavaScript is actually was invented in 1995. I'm sorry. These are some of the things you already read. We just took invented in 1995 by Netscape. It's called JavaScript because Java was new, popular, and existing, exciting. So basically, there are similarity between Java and JavaScript. But before JavaScript, there was Java. So JavaScript now inherited some of the features of Java in terms of the syntax, the way it is written and all. So, but JavaScript is not JavaScript because Java is strictly type, but JavaScript is dynamic type. I don't know if you understand what is strict type and dynamic type. Do you understand what that means? So when you say strict type, that means if you declare a value or define a variable in Java, you have to specify the exact type. For example, let me break. I'm trying to see. Well, so but with JavaScript is a dynamic type of programming language with different version. So EX5 was introduced in 2009, and ES6 was introduced in 2015. So with some feature, let's blocks cope with let and const. There are classes and modules that was introduced. Um, so a lot of rich packages that were introduced up in ES6. So with some of the facts about JavaScript, there are a couple of facts. Function can be assigned to variable. So not all programming language you can be able to achieve this. So functions can be assigned to a variable. Um, we are going to demonstrate this later. So by default, it does not report error. That means it's so dynamic that it does not report error by default, not compared to the other programming languages. So it also give automatic type conversions. So for example, if you declare a value, let's say let a equals to 1, maybe in quotes, then it can easily convert that to a number automatically. So some of the data type of the JavaScript, we have numbers, we have string, we have boolean, undefined, null, we have object symbols, big int, and also type of. Type of is basically used to if you want to check a particular type. Say want to let me bring up I'll bring up my just for it to make more sense. I'll bring up where are you? Just trying to bring up a browser. Pum, pum, pum. Yeah. Can you see my browser? Yep. Okay. Yes. So just want to try something with Inspired, just to demonstrate some of these things that make more sense. Console. So we're talking about the type JavaScript types. So for example, you can define, let's say A. A is when A equals to 1, well, let's say 12. So for what type type is this basically? Is it number or a float or an array, integer? How do we know? Like you can do a type of it. This will tell us what type is a number. So yeah, is it integer in some other language, but it's called integer in some other languages like Java. But typically either a float value, a decimal value, or a normal value without a decimal is called our call numbers in JavaScript. So this is the essence of type. The reason why I brought up this is to show you what the real work of this type of. Type of is actually used to find out what variable data type is. So if you're confused, okay, let's try another one. So let A equals or B equals let's say Hassan, my name. So what type would this be? Can someone guess? A string. Let's see. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so easily we can be able to determine the type of value using this. So let's try another one. Let's say books equals book 1, book 2, so can someone guess what type is it? Are you sure? Yeah, let's see. It's an object. So object, either an array or they are all categorized as an object. Yeah, this is typically an array, but it's all fall within a like an object basically. The object type. Sorry. Yeah. So what's so this we're still going to touch more on this one. So I just want to um do a little demonstration so you understand what we are really talking about. So behind the scenes, a couple of things happening, a number of things that happen. For example, you type let s equals 3, y equals 2, and give you an answer 5. So what happened behind the scene? Behind the scene, it converts it to it pushes it to a Java virtual machine, and within the virtual machine, there's a C++ compiler whereby its code is rewritten in a low level virtual machine and into an assembler. Assembly language is, I don't know if you know, you're familiar with assembly language as well. And it proceeds to, well, the aim is to convert whatever you type, X and Y, to convert them into a computer language. Computer understand what? Zero and ones, right? So typically, computer understands 0 and 1, not X and Y. So what happened behind the scene is that the virtual machine tried to convert whatever you type in back to the computer language, which is now executed basically. So from the high level language, JavaScript is an high level language. The whatever you typed in is now converted back to a very low level language where that the computer understands basically. Yeah, so some of the, like I said, all floating point, either floating point or integer, they are all numbers in JavaScript. So in some other language they are called integers. In Java, they're specifically split into integers or float values or double values. But in JavaScript, we have them as numbers basically. We have string values. The strings are what sequence of characters basically, so that are stored in memory. So I'm just trying to wrap up this because we didn't start on time. So some of the ways we can convert that do a type conversion. Imagine you want to convert from string to int. So just to show a little demonstration before we still. So for example, we have so let's say C equals 12. So what type is it? This is a what? C is what type? A string. Now let's do a type conversion. So let's say if one of the way we saw in the documentation is to use either number string or to pass into int. So let's try to pass int. We want to pass this, let's assign it to a value. Let d equals, so what we're trying to do is to convert this c value into an integer value basically, or a number. So if you look at this, it's converted it to this. Now if you print out d, you see that d is a number value. If you also check the type of the d, you would say it will tell you that it is a number value basically. Yeah, so that's some of the ways you can try some of those ones. Also, you can also do this using number, converting it to a number, the float type, and so flow run, match the run, and all. So basically, so these are some of the ways you can do some. I think there's another way, which I'm going to demonstrate later in the later today. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm just sorry, I just distracted with the chat, looking at the message in the chat. So to proceed, um, so this seems to be like the JavaScript syntax and there's some naming convention that we need to follow when defining our namings. Like we've been trying let A, let B, let C. Those are not meaningful names basically. So you're naming if you want to give your variable a name, ensure that it reflects what you want it to, the value you are trying to assign to it. So give it a meaningful name. Use the comment case. Comment case basically. Use uppercase for constant values. Um, Also, JavaScript namings are case sensitive, so also you need to avoid reserved words. I don't do who know what reserved word is? Can someone tell me? A reserved word. Exactly. So for example, you cannot just define, let's say you want to define, let's say const equals const. So what happened with this? Can you see? You're trying to give a variable name that this is a reserved word that's only allowed to be used by the programming language. So you typically get an exception that okay, unexpected whatever. So this is a typical example of the reason why you need to avoid reserved words and just use just use other names basically. So I think this is a continuation. Literals are like string. Um, yeah, this just telling us that strings need to be in quotes, and JSON only accept double quotes. That means when you're defining a string, that should be in quotations basically. Concatenation, if you want to concat two values, you need to use a plus. But these act differently with integers. When you have um, a string of 1 plus a string of 2, I believe, let me just demonstrate that. So I know we're still going to do that later. Let me clear these off. So if, for example, you have, let's number 1 equals 12. Let's say equal 12 and say let number 2 equals 12. Oh, let me use another number. Let's say 12 or 6 or whatever. So what can someone tell me what the answer to this will be? If I try number 1 plus number 2. Oh, so I did give me. Did someone want to tell me? Anyway, it already shows the answer there, but what can someone explain why the answer is this? Why the answer is 126? Okay, so that's perfect. So this clause is actually concatenating both. So because this is a string, it just pick the value. It's not aware of it is not aware of it being an actual value. So it's pick up the value and concat with the next value 6. But what happen if we do let's number 3 equals, like one of the way we mentioned is to convert from one type to another. So we can convert number 1 into this. So what will be the answer to this? Number 3. I need to just tell me the answer now. Number 3 plus number 2. Who can guess the answer? So it's 18, right? So why is it 18? Because we've typecast, that we've converted this value. Number 1 was supposed to be a string. We converted it to a number. Now it knows that the programming interpreter knows that, oh, this is a value, then I need to sum them up. So initially it treated the other one as a string value, and it just append, what it did was just to append the value at this point, append the value 1 and 2. But at this point, oh, you know that this value is now a number, a valid number type. So it's able to do the summation on both value. I hope that's clear. Yeah, just need to let you know about this concatenation usage. Yes, so operator precedence. I believe this is talking about how you plus minus. Imagine in a normal, I don't know if you're familiar with normal board mass, when mathematics, where you do board mass, where you take bracket first, you treat bracket first before half, before division, then addition and subtraction. So those are like a precedence in terms of how the operations will be done on each expressions. So function, basically function and methods are similar. So function is a so when you say function, in order to, why do we need a function? We might find ourselves in a case where we have to write things repeatedly. Maybe some operation, you do the same operation in multiple places. Now you can have a function that does this thing. What you just need to do is to invoke it, make the calls in those different places, just to avoid repetitive codes around your code base. Yes, so how do we define a function? So function are actually called with open and close bracket. Their argument, it takes in some argument, and method are actually a function which are part of objects which had on it. So let's say let this is this and number dot to fix. No, to fix is a function here. So that's easy. The easiest way to know what to identify a function is with the open and close brackets, basically. Yeah. So I think I need to do some demonstration. So, but before that, let me just quickly run through this with you. We have variables in the scoping. Imagine we have variables. Who can tell me what a variable is? Maybe just to know if you understand. Does anybody know what a variable is? Yes, so if you look at, typically we use variable multiple times, right? So variables are like containers. Imagine you have a container. So I gave you this container is just for, let's say, for food stuff, and this container is for something else. So variables, this is a variable named number 1, and they contain it's what it contains is all the string values 12 at the moment, right? Yes. So variables are like the containers. So why do we need variables? We need variables to hold values. Basically, it's hold values. Yeah. So now these variables have different scope. Imagine let me see if I can draw out something. Imagine you have a big box. Inside the big box there's another smaller big box, but it's inside of it. So we are trying to explain the scope now. Whatever is inside the internal one will not be known to the one outside. So scope are like, okay, level of visibilities within your class or within your programs. So it defines the place of the places a variable name is recognized. So that's the scope basically. So if you have something in internal box, that means it's only recognized by the internal box. So the outer box is unaware of it. So we have a global scope. According to this, said it's dangerous and not advised. So valid everywhere, changing the scope might impart code everywhere, which references it. Then we have the lexical scope, values that that is local to just a block basically. It's preferred and defined using let and const. Then we have function scope. Function scope are defined using var. Values are defined anywhere in the enclosure function, but it's said to be obsolete. So we stick to using let and const basically. Um, so when to use let and when to use const. So if you want to use const, the word const is when you expect that the value will not change. For single value, it can't change. It can't be changed. For example, the for object, it is a constant reference, which means it is the same data structure, but the content can be changed. So use let for everything else. So the only place you need to use const is if you have a value that you know that it will not change across maybe throughout the whole process, but for everything else, let's use let. So lexical block scope. The scope the variable as narrowly as possible, but not too narrowly. Yeah. So once again, yeah. After this, we can just show some examples. Yeah. So these are truth and equality. I'm sure we are typically familiar with these ones. So um, this is just a check between A and B. Is A equals to B. So this actually acts very strangely. It's I think I should show this quickly. For example, we have imagine if A is two a string, and we have B to be also to a value. So do you think 2 is equals to A is equal to B? Is it equal? So I just want to demonstrate this. This return true. Why did it return true? But before I explain that, let's see the other one. The equality, there are three. If you use 3 equals to, it check for the same type and value. But this will result to a false, right? So why is this one true and this is false? The first one basically, it does not care about the type. It does not care about the type. What it cares about is the content. Is the content the same? The A has 2 in the code, which is string value, and B has 2, a number. Is 2 equal to 2? Obviously 2 is equal to 2. So that's why we have a true here. in the other case, list 3 equals to is very strict in terms of checking if things are equal. So A is a string value, even if they are the same. 2, this is 2, the container has 2 as a value, and B has 2 as well. But it actually look further and say, okay, are they of the same type? Said no, they are not of the same type, then it's going to be false. I hope that is basically clear. This just to show up how the difference between this equals to and this equals to here. This 3 equals to and 2 equals to checks. So basically we also have what is truth. True is explicit. So when you have Boolean values, these are called Boolean values. Basically, true and false are called Boolean values. And null empty string, any even empty object. So we have some logical operators too. We have plot and ampersand, 2%, which to check if two things are equal. Is it true? If false, and also we have this is a pipe sign. It's or. So we have and, or, and not. This exclamation mark is like not, like negation, basically. So you're using this exclamation mark is a not. So to create logical expression, so we can use short circuit. Only execute what is needed to determine the final value. So just to demonstrate some of this, so before then, one second. Where were you? Okay, just to demonstrate this now, trying to click in onboarding. So there are multiple ways to interact with JavaScript. One way is the one we've seen I'm showing on the screen here, using from the browser console. You can write whatever code you want to write within the console. The other way, let me try to bring up my the other ways are, can you see my screen? Yep. The other ways are, you can do that through the terminal basically. Let's try with the terminal. Let me clear. Yes, so for example, you can just type if you need, but before now you need to have Node installed. I'm sure you would have done that in your previous lessons. So you need to have Node installed. For example, I have Node, then just type Node. What does it do? It give you the same view, I believe, yeah, something similar to what you have on the browser. Yeah, so you could just do the same. Let's say let A equals 2 or 3, and let B equals 4, then A plus B is 7. So typically that's another way to interact with your JavaScript. But this is just if you're just trying out JavaScript. Maybe of course you cannot write a full-blown application using the console. So let's try the other way. The other way is using having to install an extension called Code code runner is actually, if you're the type that you don't like terminal, maybe that's why I just want to mention this one. Yeah, so code runner helps you to run your code snippet. I think that's it worked with JavaScript. So since we are dealing with JavaScript this time, so I'm going to. So if you want it, you can go to extension, type code runner, and have it installed. But let me show you how that works. Let me say we have let's the same code we had before. A equals 3. Let B equals 4. Then we have console. Then the sum of A and B is what? Is the value. So how do we run this? So we could use, I think before I go to the code runner, I will still use the terminal. You can still use the terminal still with our node application. So you can do node then the file you are trying to run. So once you try this, node then the file you're trying to run. So what do we get? So we see that it's printed out the sum of values, right? Expected output. So we are trying to log this to the console. The sum of A and B is 3. So is 7, sorry. So this another way to run your application. If the other way which I was talking about is once you install the code runner, you see a play button at the head here, at the end there. So once you hit this value, you see that it prints that into another console. You can see the sum of A and B is 7. So just to quickly show you the different ways we can run your code, basically. So now let's just go into. So we talked about this. What type? Can someone tell me what type this is? A equals 3. What type is it? What data type is it? Sorry, can someone see it? Thank you. Number. So if you have, yes. Oh, sorry. This is the other one. This is already completing it for me anyway. So having it in a string. This is what will be a string, right? So we talked about other value, truth values. This is like they are boolean type, like, so come on here. Okay, that's enough. Yeah, so is active. Why is it active? A true and false value are boolean type, and the number, this numbers is an array of integers or array of numbers. Just a quick question: can I have array of different types? Who agreed to that? Yeah. Let's see. I think you are right. Don't be. So let's say we have could have different type. See, could have whole type within it. So now these numbers. Let me say number types. So this, it's very possible in JavaScript that you could have different types within an array, basically. Yeah. So this is a typical object. So we have a name, you have age. So this is string, this is a number. Now we also have a function. I'm sure, are we familiar? I've already explained what a function is. So a function, you can have multiple a function. This function, what does it do? It just greet, maybe say greet. Let's see what it will do. So are we familiar? Can someone explain what variable function invocation is and function declaration is? Do we know what the differences are? Invoking a function and declaring a function, or defining it. Okay, I think that's about variable declaration of variables and defining a and assigning a variable. Is that what you mean? I think you're talking about variables here. So yeah. So no. Okay, so this is okay. That's right. That's right. Like you can see my screen. This is a function definition or declaration, whatever I call it, because you're defining the structure of the function, the name of the function, the expected value or argument of the function. So, and the return type, what does the function do at the end of the day? Those are like defining, like basically. But now we want to invoke the function. Let's say we have invoke is just making use of that function. How do we use the function? So let me say we have you called greet. So who do you want to greet? The function expects us to pass in a value. Let's say it's trying to greet Alice. So if I run this, what does it do? It says hello Alice. Can you see that? So function declaration or definition is like defining your building blocks of the function, the structure of the function. Now yes please. Yeah. Mm-hmm. No. This is different. When you did not see a function, it is definitely not a function. When function is not used as part of the expression, it is not a function. So this is an object. This person is an object. Which one? Oh yeah. No, they are not function. No, they are not function. Yeah. Oh yeah. Ignore the colors. Ignore ignore the colors. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they are reserved words. So yeah, reserve. Yeah, yeah. So function, whatever I see a function must be written. This is a function. Then the name of the function. Then let's try something else. Okay, you're gonna try this soon. So let's say you want to write a function that sum up or multiplies two values. So what do we need? Typically, let's think about it. We need a function that multiply two values. That means we would need value 1 and value 2, right? And we will also need a way to what multiply both values. So now let's create a function. Let's say function. So what would the function need a name? Let's say multiply. Call it multiply. So we're trying to multiply two values. Let's say a and b. So that would definitely do, this is simple multiplication. A times b. A asterisk b will give us the answer, right? So now this is called function definition. Already. We've defined the function. We are not using it. We just define it here. We are yet to use that function. So now we want to make use of this function. So this will bring me to another question that I'm going to ask soon. Let's say, not function again, sorry. We want to print out the value. Console. I think you need to disable. Console. 1 second, sorry. Yeah, say that again, sorry. Yeah, this one. Yeah. This is a simple question. This is a simple function. This is just for us to learn. Yeah. Yes, sir. What do you think this will do? This will multiply 2 and 3, right? And to result to what? It results to, let me see. Yeah. I didn't spell. There's a typo there. Is it a typo? Multi. What that shouldn't be. 1 second. Multiply. Isn't it? Yeah, I was expecting that. So the answer is 6. 2 times 3 is 6. So this is what we call definition. So that brought me to another question. Can someone tell me the difference between function parameter and function argument? I don't know if you understand what I mean. Parameters and argument. Do you know what that means basically? Okay, so let me okay. Oh yeah, sure. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Actually, that's correct. That's correct. Yeah. Yeah. Good try. Thank you. Yeah. So like you explained, our parameters are like what the function expects to collect. So these a and b's are like the parameters of this function. Name is the parameters for this greet. So the actual value you are passing, they are called arguments. So at this point, they are called argument because those are the argument, the values you are sending to the function to compute or to do some computations. So that's it. I hope that's clear. Yes. So there's something called. Oh, does anyone is familiar with the arrow functions? Okay. So arrow functions are like short forms of writing functions. For example, let's convert this multiply into an arrow function. So let's say um let me just say value, or let's say multiply, let me call it multiply result. No, not result. Just want to do consts. Sorry. This is const. 1 second. Should be this narrow version. So let me say the thing. Say that again, sorry. Multiply. No, I don't think so. check this. I think the syntax is quite straightforward. Just 1 second. Arrow function. Yeah, okay, yeah, I see. Function. Yeah. So this something like this is the arrow function. So we're trying to convert this multiply into an arrow function. So the function name will now become like a variable name here, and it's now equal to this will be the argument. Let's say in our case this should be a and b, and we can now multiply a by b. So this will also give us the same result as this. This is just like a short form or shorthand of writing a function, basically. So define the function. Anyway, that's it about the arrow function. If it's not clear, let me know. Just a quick one. Can you write the function that double up a value? Just a quick one. You can drop it on the chat. Let me see what you come up with. Just like, okay, double up a value, basically. Whatever value you send to it, double it up. Just a quick one. Let's see. Anyone? Okay. So yeah. Cool. That looks right. Thanks, Michael. Yes, so someone will have an answer for me. So let's say you want to write a function. The first thing you do is write the function key reserve word, then whatever name you want to call it, say double or whatever. Double value. Yep. And basically whatever you want, whatever value we send to it, just double it up, multiply it by 2. So that's similar to what Michael shared, which is very correct. So let's try what the output will look like. So let's say console double value. So double value for 5 would be what? Did I do something else? Okay. Can we see this? These are some of the issues we're facing by programming, which is fine, but it's good to just look through the error message and understand the errors. So what does it mean? You say this is a syntax error basically because multiply has already been declared. So it's telling me what the problem is. So I know what the problem is because I have it declared. We cannot have the same function with the same name or with the same type. So we can call this maybe multiply shorthand or short whatever, and that should resolve the issue. Yep. See, we don't have an issue anymore. So doubling up 5, we got 10. So this is a simple function. So it's quite simple to so when you have it, once you want to define a function, you need to remember to always bring forward this function reserve word with the function name and whatever argument you want to, whatever parameter you want to pass in or you want the function to accept, basically. So the other thing I want to touch on was the forms or ways of debugging. Basically, if you have an error in your code, you want to try to debug it. I think the easiest way is to use console.log, like we've been using, to debug, to understand what the output of your code is producing. So, sorry, I see your hand up. Who's that? Okay. Yeah. It's supposed to be an hour. Yeah. Do you have a question? So, oh yeah. No problem. Yeah. I'm hopefully going to round up soon, just to yeah. Yeah. Thanks a lot. So like I was saying, some of the things we can do to debug our code is just have always have a console log. When you log whatever the expected, the console log will make it visible what the result are, so you know if the producing the right result. And so I just want to touch on that one. Let me see if there's anything else I've not spoke about. Talked about the yeah. I think we've actually covered most of what we're supposed to cover for the for this week. I don't any questions. Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm. Uh, so if I try to understand the problem, so you're trying to compare a value with not a number, is it? Okay. Okay. Is that what you posted? Okay. Okay, it must give you not a number. So so the question is you can't multiply 4 by a word. Okay, so can you see my screen? So what you're saying is, let's say, let me look at what you posted in chat. You can, okay. So what you posted is less, not a number. Mm-hmm. 4 multiply, oh, sorry. Okay. Something like this. So should we print it out and see? Do you try console? Let's see. Let's see what that do. It's giving the right answer here. Mm-hmm. Okay, let me bring it to the browser. Okay. That could be from the I'm not familiar with the tools you is it which tool is it? Which application are you using? Is it script? Oh, okay. I think that seems to be the right value here. Maybe you just need to check um with the team, yeah. Yeah, no problem. Any other question before we wrap up? No other question, right? Okay. Ah, okay. Mhm. Variable. Ah, okay. Apologies. I don't think I have access to the assignment itself. I would have gone through it to understand what the problem. But let me look at it. Say, I think that remind me to that I've not touched on conditional statement. I wouldn't know if you can use 2-3 minutes to talk about conditional statement. Maybe that will help in your assessment. So, like I said, conditional statements are like the statement you can use to make decisions. Basically, for example, we have let let me just use let a equals 3, and you want to make some decisions based on this value. So if a equals or greater than 0, a is positive. Let me use this. Yeah. So if a is greater than 3, or it says a is positive, his a is else, it's jumping to a negative value. So say a is not positive. So this is just a quick I know I forgot to talk about this. So using if else statement, there are other ways we can use conditional statement. You can use a switch case as well. So I just wanted to talk about it before I look at the question. It said declare variable name uncertainable, then create conditional if else statement that will assign the value true to the answer 7. Conditional that okay if your integer from q2 is greater than 10. I think it's just similar to what just demonstrated there. So let's say if this a is called answer 7. So based on whatever your answer is in q2, question 2 is if it's greater than 10, then assign it to false. So assign it to false. So what it means is, I don't know if I should do this, but what it means, you can reassign a value. You can reassign answer 7 to a different type, not as a string. You can assign it as a boolean true. I don't know if that answered the question. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Any other question? Yeah. Thanks a lot. I think that'll be all for today. Thanks a lot for joining the session. Hoping that we meet again next week. Have a lovely day. Bye, guys. Yeah, cheers. Bye. Yeah. I'll put that in. Yeah, sure. No. Don't, I'll put it on Slack here. Yeah, cheers. Bye. Yeah, bye. You too. Bye.